Today, we are disassembling the mechanics of systemic behavioral change by examining James Clear's 2018 text, Atomic Habits. This analysis isolates the operational sequences of the text, focusing strictly on the mechanical instructions for cognitive restructuring provided in the primary chapters. We will isolate three specific variables: the mechanics of identity alteration, the structural deployment of habit stacking, and the data behind the system's global commercial reception. The 2023 reissue, featuring a cover design by George Griffiths, mirrors the book's utilitarian focus, a design that secured the Penguin Cover Design Award for Adult Nonfiction. Since its initial release by Avery Publishing, the text followed a trajectory of compounding market saturation rather than an immediate, singular spike in interest. This chart visualizes that trajectory. Initial steady sales eventually scaled to nearly 20 million copies sold, establishing a 164-week presence on the U.S. bestseller lists. These specific metrics indicate the market has adopted the text as a highly replicable behavioral algorithm for business professionals and thought leaders. The foundational psychological axiom of the text suggests that traditional, goal-oriented behavioral modification is often insufficient for sustained change. This concentric model illustrates what Clear defines as the deepest layer of behavior change. Long-term modification requires an architectural restructuring of the subject's identity. The core illustrative difference is simple. The goal is not to run a marathon, it is to become a runner. Within this framework, self-actualization is a mechanical process. It requires finding out who you want to be and verifying that identity through action. A new identity is not claimed by decree. It is actively proven to the subject's own brain through the sequential and relentless completion of microtasks. Every completed task acts as a localized data point. As these points accumulate, they provide the internal evidence necessary to convince the individual that their new professional persona is factual. Systemic change occurs when the individual shifts their focus from distant outcomes to the accumulation of verifiable data that supports their new identity. To transition from theory to operational execution, the text outlines precise triggers required to initiate these behaviors on a daily basis. The primary execution mechanic used to achieve this is habit stacking. Stacking involves the precise temporal linking of a desired task. The user attaches a new behavior to the immediate conclusion of a deeply ingrained existing routine. This is reinforced by a secondary execution mechanic defined as temptation bundling. This flowchart diagrams the loop of bundling. It requires a dopaminergic reward immediately following the stacked task. These mechanics function symbiotically. By linking the difficult task to an existing anchor and following with a reward, it reduces cognitive friction. Stacking and bundling shift the focus away from willpower, transforming abstract identity goals into automated, executable subroutines. The system does acknowledge a critical biological caveat. Baseline neurochemical profiles create distinct starting points for human habit formation. Clear cites a precise biological metric. Individuals operating with elevated oxytocin levels naturally index higher in the trait of agreeableness. This neurochemical baseline lowers the execution threshold for social actions. For these subjects, habits like writing thank you notes are easier to initiate and maintain. The rigidity of Clear's operational system is designed to act as an equalizer against these biological predispositions, providing a structure that does not rely on natural inclination. In a 2024 analysis for Forbes, Omaid Homayem mapped the framework's trajectory, noting how rapidly the system caught fire within corporate environments. Citations from the book achieved total saturation across professional networks, becoming a persistent fixture of the literary canon on platforms like LinkedIn. This demand drove the expansion of a dedicated ecosystem, resulting in the physical Clear Habit Journal and the 2024 deployment of a digital tracking app named Atoms. To test the framework's efficacy among high performers, Diana Alexandrova conducted a specific investigation for Business Insider. Her investigation reported a 100% success rate for mitigating procrastination in the surveyed subjects when using the book's specific lessons. The framework holds canonical status because of its focus on standardizing human output, regardless of a subject's initial neurochemical variables. This interface outlines the enterprise integration sequence. 1. Define a target identity based on verification data. 2. Identify an automated daily action as an anchor. 3. Attach the new action to the conclusion of that anchor. 4. Follow it with a low-friction reward to lock the bundle. A critical failure point for professionals occurs when they prioritize outcome tracking over the collection of identity verification data. Instead, a successful implementation shifts the operational burden away from willpower, transferring it to an automated system architecture. The legacy of this framework is well documented. Major outlets, including Slate and Ontit.org, cite it as the premier management and productivity text of the decade. This legacy is validated globally, maintaining a top 10 placement on the Sunday Times bestsellers list as recently as 2025. The core thesis remains: extreme productivity is achieved by engineering reliable systems, not by maximizing personal motivation. Ultimately, success in scaling human output is simply the measurable result of a deliberate, well-constructed behavior.